Hey everyone, welcome to Age of Reason. Today is, and I always forget the date, Sunday, October 19th, 2014. Our usual host, Mina Ko, is gonna have surgery tomorrow, so replacing her. Today is Jeremy with me.
Yes.
So Jeremy, you are part of the Japan Atheist Society, so...
Yes, I set up the Japan Atheist Society because I felt like we needed our own fair share of the stage, so to speak. So
Yep.
I set up the group because I had some like-minded friends who also share their opinions in the group, and I think that it's good to tell people not only are atheists normal human beings, but they're not like all out there, trying to eat babies and,
Right.
we just want to live free and think free and try to use reason as our deciding factor rather than books based on magic and fantasy.
Yeah, well, we do eat babies sometimes. Come on.
They are delicious.
All right, so if people want to follow our show on Facebook, it's facebook.com/agereason. And if you want to email us with, anything really, then feel free. It's at tv-ageofreason@tv-ff.com. So today, mainly, we're going to talk about the Ken Ham Bill Nye thing.
Right.
But before we even get into that, why don't you kind of talk about what was your path to atheism?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, for me, basically, my family. Well, let's see. How do I put this? They were like in a cult, basically. So the cult of Seventh-day Adventism. So as children, we were all raised going to church on Saturdays, which was really, really weird, for us growing up as kids, because everybody else went to church on Sundays. But we were raised in that kind of belief system. And to answer your question more directly, I mean, I started around the age of 13, I started asking questions. And like with most religious groups, the worst thing you can do in a religious group is start asking questions because they don't have proper answers. So I started asking questions like, where did this book come from, and who is this person? They're real. Where's your evidence? I started asking for evidence, and when you start asking for evidence, people start to go crazy. And eventually, at one point, they told my mom, you can't bring him back here anymore. He's disrupting the class, or he's become troublesome to the other people around him. And by troublesome, I guess what they mean is I was starting to ask for evidence-based, just evidence based, basically on what they were saying. If you're going to claim something is real, then you have to show me evidence to prove it. You can't just say this is real because I say so, or because it's written down in this book from 1844. I mean, you can actually go back in those books and trace where this all started, and these people were just out there looking for ways to control people and said, I have a new idea. Let's take what already exists, change it just a little bit, and then call it this, and we're going to make that an entire new religion.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of wacky religions out there, like Scientology and stuff.
Yeah.
But so you said like there's a lot of like kind of really crazy stuff about that particular religion.
Yeah.
Can you give like some examples?
For example, like this is BSC, batshit crazy. One thing that they would do, like for their communion, where they talk to God, they have a part where you go into a room and it's like all the guys in one room, all the girls in a different room, and you got to wash people's feet because that's apparently what they did thousands of years ago. I don't understand, but you go around and you got to start washing people's feet for them, and then in turn they wash your feet for them, and then I don't know how magic works, but that's apparently good for reasons.
Yeah, well, that's interesting.
Yeah, I'd call it a lot of things, but interesting is not one of them.
Yeah. Curious, perhaps.
Yeah.
Curious. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I think they take the story that Jesus washed people's feet,
Yeah.
and I don't know, man. I go back to look at it, and I say, you know what? How often did the people back then actually bathe? You know, how often did people wash each other's feet? You know, who knows this? Like, did people walk in and see him doing this? You know, there's no idea how this got started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so like when you kind of left the faith, I guess, did you have any like issues with family members or?
Oh, absolutely. When I first left, I mean, people were going crazy. They were saying like, first, you know, the whole thing about me asking questions was a big problem. My mom got really, really angry with me, saying, you know, your job is to sit there, be quiet, nod your head, and just listen and do what they say. And I'm like, you can't ask questions? And she's like, no, you can't ask questions, because that was their generation. You know, their generation just said, this is what we do, this is tradition, and you know, this is how you do it. And so I asked the question, I said, like, all right, so if this is tradition and this is handed down from your parents to you, and then from you to me, well, you know, what if we were born in the Middle East? Then we'd be Muslims. So just saying that this is tradition does not actually hold that this is actually true. It's just, this is how things were done, so we're going to keep doing them. And instead of asking questions and you know, building a culture where you don't ask questions, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. And like, well, that's what I talked about on the first show, I guess. Yeah. Like, there are traditions, and not all traditions are bad, but it's just like some of them really are, and they still exist.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, in America, we had a tradition where we used to burn people at the stake for being witches, right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you say that now in the 21st century, you look at a person and say, okay, you know, maybe you're a Wiccan, maybe I don't know, maybe you think you do magic. So, you know, there's justification in my magic book for me to kill you for that. So those kind of like notions to me are just absolutely ridiculous. And I think I like to say, live and let live. You know, as long as what you're doing doesn't infringe on me and what I'm doing doesn't infringe on you, then, you know, you should have all the freedom in the world to do whatever you like, right?
Yeah.
As an adult, you know, if you make those decisions.
Yeah, I mean, within like certain parameters, but.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, they always say like your right to throw a punch ends at my nose. Well, I agree. Like I said, as long as you're not infringing on my existence or bothering or hurting other people, then, you know, feel free to do whatever you want.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So it's interesting you talk about Islam. So I guess the one question I have for you, and I'll answer it myself later.
Okay.
So like on, you know, Bill Maher always like talks about it on his show Real Time quite often. Well, I don't know why he's obsessed about it actually, but
it's just kind of his shtick. That's what he does.
Yeah.
He makes millions of dollars doing it, so more power to him, right?
That's right. So my question to you though is, he always says on his show, like, you know, so obviously like Christianity has many bad things, Islam has many bad things, but for him, like, well, he's an atheist, but I mean, for him, he always says like kind of the Western society is just better. Like,
I don't know, that's kind of being a dick, if you ask me. I mean, it's not which is better, which is worse. There's more opportunity. I mean, if you live in the middle of a desert and you have a cactus and nothing else, what opportunities do you have? You know, it doesn't make you a bad person. It's just your situation. Your situation's horrible. In the U.S., I think you have more opportunities. I mean, here we live in Japan, so I mean, we came here by choice, and you know, we have plenty of opportunities. We can work. We can eat good food. We have water, we have safety, we have medical care. You know, if you're adding up things, you know, those are quite important, you know. And I think for him to say, oh, the Western way of doing things is the best and blah 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 blah, I don't know how much he's been exposed to other ways, right? But I mean, when it comes down to like religions like Islam or whatever, I think it depends basically on who the person is. I mean, if you're a dummy, it doesn't matter what religion you are. Because I see it all the time. Look at your Pat Robertson. That guy's an idiot.
Yeah.
And he's like 100 years old.
Yeah.
And he's telling people, oh, you should murder your son because he might be gay.
Right.
Well, that's ridiculous. That's inciting fear and also just telling some parent
Hate.
to hate, telling a parent to murder their kid.
Yeah.
There's so many gross things about that in itself.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter what you call it. Gross is gross. I mean, if you're a jerk and you're Islam, then you're still a jerk. Or if you're
Right.
a jerk and you're a Christian, you're still a jerk.
Right.
So that's my take on that.
Yeah, and I do cover Pat Robertson in my documentary, which I still haven't finished. It takes a while.
There we go.
But the one episode I have of him in that show was he was talking about. So it was a husband who called the show, and he was like, "Well, my wife is like really like sick, kind of terminal disease, and what should I do?" And he's like, "Oh, just divorce her, like just remarry." And I was like, "Really? Like that's."
Yeah. You don't want her pulling you down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, she's no fun.
Yeah.
That's not the kind of thing you want to tell people, man. I mean, of course, being a human being, I feel sorry for the guy. His wife is terminally ill, but then again, I feel bad that the guy's calling basically a street magician on TV saying, "Oh, my wife is ill. What should I do?" Don't take advice from people who are on TV preaching magic.
Right, and getting huge money for
Yeah.
it too. Yeah.
I don't think Pat Robertson has missed any meals. I'm sure his credit cards are all paid off and his student loans are all paid off. So he's found a niche market that he can actually stay in just for thousands and thousands of years because he's old. Get it?
Yeah.
He can stay in that niche market and just bilk people out of money because people are always willing to just give him money. Just pray for me and give him cash. That prayer costs $100.
Right,
so if
right.
you want me to pray for you, then
Yeah, it's like what Benny Hinn was doing.
Yeah.
Like if you give like $100, like you'll get like a kind of reduced package. If you give him $500, then like God will really pay attention.
Wow. Yeah, because there's a lot of things about God. He's magic and all powerful, but he's not very good with money.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
he's
George Carlin.
That's
yeah.
right. He's always broke. So
Yeah.
yeah, and we need to fix that. Send him to a course on Excel. Get him to balance his checkbook. So he can.
Yep.
He can do all this on his own. Yeah.
So the other kind of thing I want to ask you, and well, like basically in America, the churches don't pay any taxes. I think they should.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
Yeah. So Bill Maher recently, I don't know if it's recently, but he said like, so if you're a church, then if you have a fire, then don't call the fire department because you don't pay for it.
Yeah,
Like,
it's true. Well, I mean, no one pays for fire department, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's paid for by everybody. So,
Right.
I get his point. And yeah, churches. How many mega churches are there? I mean, I'm from the South. I grew up in Texas. So, when you're talking about Southern Baptists and even Seventh Day Adventists and Mormons, how much money are they just forking away, buying land, building, giant landing strips for UFOs, whatever they do. I don't know, but like, how much money are they wasting, on this ridiculous thing? They're calling it, tithing or money to help spread the good word, but where is that money actually going? Who gets that money?
yeah. Well, it goes into their pocket.
It goes into their pocket.
Yeah. Yeah, so the last thing, I guess, well, maybe we'll do a few Bible quotes, but this Bill Maher, Ben Affleck thing happened. So what do you make of that?
Well, I think Ben Affleck is kind of a dick. Look, he's an actor, and he's an actor in crappy movies, and so his opinion to me is like should be taken with a grain of salt, right? He's not like a Rhodes Scholar. And he didn't go to Harvard where we talked about this in length.
Yeah.
He's a dude who was in Dogma. Come on, man. He was the bully in Dazed and Confused. He was the bully in Mallrats. Shut up, man. Saying something bad about Islam is not being racist.
Right.
Islam isn't a race. Islam is a religion. It's a club of guys. Who think in a certain way. It's not a race. It's not racist to say, oh, I don't like Islam. Oh, look, I don't like Islam. But I have friends who are Islamic, but we talk about other stuff. We don't sit there and dwell on that stupid point, right?
Right.
We might talk about work. We might talk about Star Wars. We could be anything, right? We don't dwell on that certain thing.
Yeah.
That's their own personal choice. But it's not racist to say I don't like something. There's tons of things I don't like. I don't like McDonald's.
Right.
You know, it just doesn't make sense that that you would sit there and call that racist because you don't like something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I thought he was very kind of like aggressive, but I mean, the other thing is like he, well, like he's an actor, he's always in the spotlight, and so he cannot say, I guess, certain things, and maybe he wanted to say something, but he couldn't. Like,
well, there's at certain points, being quiet is probably in his best interest. Sometimes like you can just like let everyone think you're an idiot, and then you open your mouth and prove them right. So it's better just to sometimes just sit there and smile. Look, I can't judge what he does, for a living or whatnot. But I'm just gonna say, look, sometimes just sit down, take your licks, and just keep quiet.
Yeah, and of course the other person who kind of got involved in this is this Reza Aslan, and you might know him, right? So, but the thing is, like he's basically kind of like an amateur kind of guy. His degree is not serious, but every time like CNN jumps on the story, then he goes on it. Like, I don't know. Those kind of things, just for me, they're just opinions, and they're welcome to have their opinions, but I think forcing them down people's throats and the media to keep just talking over it again and again is just a waste of everyone's time, to be honest. Yeah. I mean, I thought it was just a shame because, like, obviously Sam Harris was on the show and he barely had a chance to even talk. I mean, like, because Ben Affleck was always just barking.
I would have just said, "Shut up, Ben."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Look, here's how much I care about your argument. Shut up.
Yeah. And the thing is, like, they were making like I think they were making a valid point, like, because in America, like, we can go in the street and say anything about Jesus, like,
sure.
And well, okay, maybe like if it's really kind of a lunatic, insane guy with a weapon, maybe he'll do something. But like in 99% of time, like, nothing will happen. But if you do that in Muslim countries, like if you make fun of the prophet, or if you make a cartoon of the prophet,
you cut your head off.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Ben Affleck, he's welcome to go, over there and
that's what he was saying, actually.
Do his thing,
Yeah.
Yeah, he wouldn't have the same opportunities like we talked about before if he was over there, And I've seen Mallrats and I've seen Dazed and Confused, and I am not impressed.
Yeah. So, okay, why don't we just do like a very few quotes, and then we'll jump into the video.
Sure.
So why don't you do like this kind of first one, the John 6:44?
Yeah, I really like these quotes, and the thing about these quotes is like, it really matters in what way you read them, how you're presented with these things, because the wording in these is just ridiculous.
Yeah,
right?
And just before you read that,
sure.
So the thing is, like, these are just kind of taken out from those texts. So sometimes there is probably a bigger context, but we don't like see it here. So.
Yeah, but this is the thing. Like, most people who read the Bible only read little chunks of it that are given to them by somebody else, right? This is how people are presented. Like, they'll go, "These are the facts. This is what the book says," and they're like, "You mean this big book that I've never read?" And like, yeah, that's the one. And inside there it says this, and this.
Yeah.
And they don't ever actually sit down and look it up themselves and try to figure out what it says. I always say, like I've heard people say before, the quickest way to deconvert somebody from Christianity is to make them read the Bible.
Well, yeah.
Because then as soon as you'll see that, you're like, this is full of incest and rape and genocide and homophobia and slavery. Why would I ever follow this?
Yeah. Oh, and by the way, so you deconverted like a Mormon recently, right? So.
Oh yeah, I just that's for another show. I mean, we could talk about that for hours, but yeah, I just broke down to him basically like. I said, the guy who wrote your book, your Joseph Smith.
Yeah. If
he was alive today and did what he did in our current times, he would be a terrorist. So basically, in a nutshell, how that works with Joseph Smith is he made up. He was convicted as a convicted con man.
Yeah.
And there's court records that actually show that. Then he went around telling people that he had a magic hat that could help him see gold. So he would take their money and put it in his pocket, and then he'd take his hat off, and then look in his hat and go, no, well, there's some gold over that way, and then he'd just keep walking. Then suddenly he'd be gone, and like the person wouldn't have any money, and they wouldn't have any gold. So anyways, he got arrested for that. And then after he was arrested, suddenly he found magical tablets because an alien or an angel or something came down and gave him like a magical tablets in an ancient language that only he could read.
Right.
With a magic stone.
Yeah.
And that happened. And then after that, he made his religion, and then like dumb people, oh, what's that? And they started just like following him. And then some newspaper actually had written something about it, like about Mormonism, saying like, man, this is dumb. How can these people fall for this guy? And they'd actually written that he was a convicted con man.
Right.
And anyways, he didn't like what they had said, so he decided to Islam that shit, and he went over there to blow up the printing press.
Yeah.
And in the process of blowing up the printing press, he was arrested. So the guy is basically a con man who's visited by aliens, who has magic rocks and a magic hat, and a terrorist.
Blow up buildings.
Yeah, a terrorist. Yeah. So I don't know how that would go over in today's society, to be honest. Yeah. So
who knows?
All right, let's hop into the quote of the week here. All right, and this is from John 6:44. Okay, it says, "No one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him, and I will raise him up on the last day." So okay.
What is it?
What does that kind of mean? I really don't understand what that says. So no one can come to me unless the Father who sent me draws him. So I got like a picture like of Titanic, like you're sitting on the back on a couch, and like some weird pedophile dude is drawing your picture,
right.
And then I will raise him up in the last day. What does that?
Exactly.
What does that mean?
Yeah. What last day?
Yeah.
I mean, last day of what? Judgment Day or what?
Yeah. When is that happening? When's that battle over?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I said. Like sometimes we go over these and they just make absolutely like zero sense. Some of them, like you can really kind of decipher them.
Yeah.
But some, like this one, it's like okay.
Yeah, that's a bit ridiculous, and I don't understand. You know, if the Magic Bible is so, you know, God inspired or written by God, why didn't he just like write it good?
Yeah. Why is it so cryptic?
Yeah, why is it cryptic, and why is it all crappy? And then like it's not even a good story, to be honest. I mean, the story sucks.
Yeah, I'd rather read like Lord of the Rings.
I'd rather like sit down with a John Grissom book or or something. Lord of the Rings is fine. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'll do one and then we'll jump into the video.
Sure.
So, let's see. I got, how do you even read that? Hosea? Hosea. I think.
Hosea 13:16.
Yeah, so Samaria shall bear her guilt because she has rebelled against her God. They shall fall by the sword. Their little ones shall be dashed in pieces and their pregnant women ripped open. Oh, I actually remember that one very well.
That's a lovely thing to say.
Well, I'm not sure what this has to do with atheism, actually.
It's about parents killing their babies and pregnant women being ripped open.
Oh, okay. Now I see why.
Wow.
Okay, because it's basically, so if you rebel, that's the thing. She rebelled against God, so that means like she's kind of like atheist or lost her faith at least.
Okay.
And so then the punishment comes. Well, that's the thing. Like, there's hell, right? They always threaten people with hell.
I don't believe that, but go ahead.
Yeah. But if you don't believe, then the woman will be ripped open and.
Why are they so down on girls, man?
Oh yeah, I always made that point.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of women. I like them.
Oh, of course.
I married one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is horrible. I mean, if someone came up to you and just started telling you, "Oh, if you don't believe in me, we're gonna rip pregnant women in half right in front of you, I'd be like, whoa, you have got serious issues
Yeah.
and you need professional help. I'm going to call 911.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's gross, man. I mean, you shouldn't. Why should they? Because you don't believe in something, then you should be ripped in half and killed. All right, that's terrible.
Which one?
All of them.
Oh,
All of them.
yeah, the quotes. Yeah.
All the quotes are terrible, and
Yeah.
they're either cryptic or they're talking about mass murder. Yeah, lovely.
Yeah, for sure.
So you brought up that you had a video that you wanted to talk about.
Yes, so now we're going to jump into the Ken Ham Bill Nye thing. Before we, well, I'm not going to show the debate at all because, if people want to watch it, then they can just watch it.
Yeah. Don't buy the DVD. Just
yeah.
BitTorrent it.
Don't give him more money.
Don't give him more money.
Yeah, he has enough. I mean, he's building that stupid
He's got a creationist museum.
But he's building this amusement park now.
Oh no!
With a real size replica of Noah's Ark, apparently.
Oh no! Ride a roller coaster with Jesus.
And he wanted to it's funny because he wanted, well, he didn't want to hire any atheists. He was very specific about that. But
that's not legal, actually.
exactly.
Yeah.
So the government bit him in the ass, and they said well, if you actually proceed with that, we're gonna deduct $18 million from your tax deductions. So sorry.
How does he have $18 million?
I have no
He doesn't
idea.
even work. He doesn't have a job.
Exactly.
How does he have $18 million in taxes?
I don't know.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
So anyway, this video that we're gonna watch is actually just some dude, I guess, some creationist guy. He's not very bright at all. It's actually very painful to watch.
Yeah.
But the reason why I want to show this video is because those people are real, they exist, and that's what they believe in. So we're not making it up,
Yeah.
I wish we were making it up.
It's ridiculous. The beginning of the video is interesting, though. He's got a surprise. He kind of surprises us with his ability to do special effects.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. All right. So anyway, let's watch that thing, and then we'll comment, and then we'll jump into the debate. So
Sure, no problem.
See you in a bit.
Alright, just before I get started, I want people to understand and keep an open mind. I freaking love Bill Nye. He made science look so fun, he had an entertaining program and all, but all that is pretty much in the 90s. And as far as who I like better, Ken Ham or Bill Nye, I kind of hold them in the same regard, with Ken Ham just being a little bit higher because he preaches the truth about creation science and the truth about God's Word. And the thing with Bill Nye, yes, I like the guy, but you gotta learn early in life to eat the meat and spit out the bones. In this debate, both didn't really seem to answer each other's questions, but I also think that Ken Ham wasn't given a fair amount of time to actually answer these supposed ad hominem attacks from Bill Nye of these supposed evidences for evolution, which, bringing up these fallible assumptions, Coven already addressed all of these 10 years ago in his Age of the Earth seminar. I could be proving for days that his points from his seminar are in fact valid. Bill Nye kept bringing up the thing about the ice cores, the tree rings, the wooden ship, and the sedimentary layers. I mean, don't you think it's about time they updated their textbooks? I mean, evolution has been proven wrong over 50 years ago, spontaneous generation proven wrong over 200 years ago by Louis Pasteur and Francesco Redi, but it still remains in the textbooks, and that's what I have the problem with. Did you know that Clarence Darrow and Charles Darwin both said, it's best to hear both sides of the argument, otherwise the nation will just only be of one mind and one opinion, and people won't be able to learn for themselves. That's what Charles Darwin and Clarence Darrow said. Bill Nye seemed to be like, oh, the sky is falling, we gotta get more evolution into the schools or we're all gonna die, the world will be destroyed if we don't teach evolution. He somehow thinks that his religion of evolutionism is important to the scientific community, and it's not. He'd like to keep saying, oh, there are many religions out there. Well, so what? Most of these religions are completely unscientific, where the Bible is scientific. Did you know it's because of Bible-believing Christians that we have the modern benefits of many branches of science today? Isaac Newton, Johannes Kepler, James Clerk Maxwell, and Raymond Dominion, the guy who invented the MRI. People can understand if they're taught that God created the world, that means there are laws that exist, and by studying these laws, you can have the confidence that you can find out about new things. Teaching a bunch of kids evolution just might make them feel depressed, or they might want to go off and do other things. You cannot be too optimistic about children wanting to more scientifically advanced if you're just going to be teaching them evolution. For the next 50 years, if all you did was just teaching them evolution, you couldn't get anywhere in scientific advancement. Okay, Bill Nye brought up the thing about the ice core layers. Well, Bill Nye, those are not annual rings. You're assuming those are annual rings. That doesn't represent summer, winter, summer, winter. It represents warm, cold, warm, cold, warm, cold. You can get 5 of those in 1 week around here. And perhaps a lot of people to this day have not heard about the Lost Squadron, one of those World War II airplanes that landed in Greenland, and there were over 250 feet of ice in 48 years, which accumulates for only about 5.5 feet a year. And with rocks, people are just totally guessing out of the clear blue sky of how old rocks are. See, the geologic column was invented by people right out of the clear blue sky before there was rubidium-strontium dating, radiocarbon dating. Also, none of those dating methods really work, okay? But it's all based on fallible opinions and assumptions. When known ages of some living organisms are tested, we know it does not work. But when you test a sample of unknown age, it's assumed to work. That's not science. Noah and the people back then, I think ancient man was much smarter than we are today. People tried to say, oh, this wooden ship would have twisted and burned. Perhaps pre-flood people, pre-flood animals, and pre-flood plants were much bigger than we are today, and pre-flood wood was especially strong. And God didn't tell Noah, hey, build any boat you like. No, he gave him precise directions. How big it was supposed to be, how wide it was supposed to be, and how many floors it was supposed to have. I mean, following God's way is a way to get out of trouble. And people are often trying to set up this whole aspect that everyone back then in the past was dumb and I'm smart. Just for the count of evolution is a religion of egotism. Bill Nye also brought up the assumption about starlight. Well, it took a long time to get here, didn't it? Well, scientists have just recently discovered that starlight back in the past was 100 times more faster than it is now. The question is not how did the starlight get from there to here, but how did the star get from here to there? That's a real question that needs to be put up. Many times in the Bible, it says God stretched out the heavens. Also, tree rings. Oh, what about these trees that are like 9,000 years old, blah, blah, blah. Well, notice that none of these trees are like millions of years old, and all of them are only in the thousands. Did you know that a tree can grow more than 1 ring a year? It can even be 2 or 3 rings a year. Like one guy who creates walking sticks for people said that there were like 14 rings in 7 years. That's amazing. The magnetic field of the Earth is declining, and is never reversed. It's just the fact that it's declining. There is no evidence that it has reversed, but because of that, more radiation from the sun gets in, and that actually ages a lot of these artifacts such as rocks or even trees. And you all posting in the comments, trolling and saying, I'm ignorant. Oh, you're ignorant of this. You're ignorant of this. No, I'm not ignorant. I'm trying to find out the facts. I'm finally going to show this to you people. It's a bold thing I'm going to do. This is real ignorance. G.K. Chesterton said, if there were no God, there would be no atheists. I think that's precisely true. I'm going to be sticking this up here so you guys can see this for yourself and understand something. And Bill and I brought up the sedimentary layers. Well, petrification does not take a long time to petrify. Petrification does not take long. There are petrified trees running through these multiple layers, connecting all of them. Sometimes these trees are found upside down. Now you have a real problem. This is dirt that got rearranged at the flood. This is not dirt that took millions of years to deposit on top of each other. And the obvious question should be, where's all this dirt coming from? And Bill and I did not address this, but I just like to bring it up anyway because a lot of people try to accuse us of believing stupid stuff. A unicorn is mentioned in the Bible. Well, the unicorn we're thinking of today is the horse that has a horn coming out of its head. Well, perhaps it was a certain dinosaur, because there have been certain dinosaurs found where there have been horns coming out of their heads, and it could be one of those creatures, since those creatures existed and the unicorns we think of in fairy tales did not. Bill Nye, there is a lot of evidence of how dinosaurs have not died out recently, and they're just very rare right now. Particularly ones in the water are still alive, but ones on land are mostly gone because no one wants to live next door to a dragon, and that's what they were called through most of history. I've got this, which I'm also planning to hang up there, called 65 million years? Yeah, right. This is dinosaur bones, fresh dinosaur bones and fresh dinosaur tissue and blood that was just recently discovered, and just to show that this is not millions of years old and that dinosaurs are still recent. And they have always lived with people. People try to say, oh, dinosaurs and people together, or when the dinosaurs have eaten the people. Well, dinosaurs and people got the exact same size, especially before the flood. And I think humans always had the superior weapons. And I think people were always able to kill these dragons. And plus, the dragons would have been like, if you leave them alone, they'll leave you alone. It wasn't tyrannical like they were in movies, like they tried to show you. Just put all those movies out of your head and try to focus on reality. I also have this picture, which shows how Arthur Grant, a veterinarian student, nearly ran into the Loch Ness monster on his motorcycle at 1:30 in the morning. Just to show how dinosaurs are still alive today. Search it up. Search it out for yourself. Don't just inadvertently just buy into all this lies you are spoon-fed in a liberal biased classroom of a pro-New World Order school from your childhood, okay? And stop making classification, oh, this is Ken Ham's flood, this is Ken Ham's view. No, I follow the same God that Ken Ham follows, and Bill Nye, you are following a flawed man called Darwin who is not a scientist and made a whole bunch of assumptions based on just looking at a bunch of finches, and this man had an incredibly low IQ. Something like 103 or something, but that's another long story. And I might have to say, when I first saw a picture of Darwin, he looked like the saddest looking man I had ever seen in my life. I thought to myself, okay, whatever this guy believes, I want to have no part of it. So, my final comments on this Bill Nye and Ken Ham debate, it was decent, it was worth watching. There was a lot of stuff that Ken Ham was able to say that finally got out to the public. I was actually expecting someone to put forth the joke that's saying it looks like two Abraham Lincolns debating each other, but don't get across the idea that Bill Nye has all the facts and Ken Ham is just based on faith. No, they have the same evidence, and Bill Nye is bringing up a lot of mistakes and a lot of assumptions that are still in the textbooks. Ken Hovind already dealt with them 10 years ago in his Age of the Earth seminar, and I recommend you check that out. Do not try to say, oh, Ken Hovind's a convicted criminal, a tax fraud. No. This innocent man is in jail while criminals go free. In the end, this debate was decent and was a lot of fun to watch. And I want to say, Ken Ham, you did a great job. And Bill Nye, you made your case, and Ken Ham made his case. And neither side really won. But I will say, it was pretty awesome. So that's all I've got to say for this video. Peace out, keep thinking, Jesus bless you, and TDFN, ta-da for now.
Okay. Well...
Wow. Woo! What can you say about that, huh?
So this video was covered by the Armored Skeptic, by the way. So if you want to kind of watch that in detail, you can. I'll drop a link.
There's so many things I want to point out here.
Yeah. Well, go ahead.
Okay. He said neither side really won. And I'm said, except for the part where Bill Nye actually won. Because he asked him at the end of the conference, if I showed you some evidence, what kind of evidence would it take? Would you change your mind?
Right.
And the guy and Ham said no.
Right.
He won't change his mind no matter what you show him.
Right.
You could take him into the laboratory with fruit flies and show him how fruit flies evolve and change based on their environment, and he would just be like, nope, didn't see it.
Right.
And then it's not going to change my mind.
Right.
And then this young man, the guy who's talking in this video, did you guys see behind him? There was a poster of Hitler. There's a poster of Hitler behind him. Who has a poster of Hitler? How can you be taken seriously if you have a poster of Hitler?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. But this young man, he said, like, he's talking about post-flood and pre-flood, and I'm like, wow, post-flood and basically there's no proof or evidence that there ever was a flood.
Right.
And the reason that we know that is because of Australia.
Right.
Because during the time the Bible was written, there would have been no way they could have known about Australia and the fact that marsupials exist.
It's not just Australia, but it's also like the American continent.
Well, that's true as well.
So.
Yeah. But I mean, look at the fact that marsupials exist. You have a kangaroo, you have a platypus, you have koala bears.
Yep.
Yeah, those things don't exist anywhere except for in down under, right?
Right.
So there's no way that they swam from Egypt
Yeah.
They crossed the desert, and then they swam over to Egypt. Yeah, I mean, from Egypt to Australia. That just doesn't make sense. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
To say such things.
Yeah, but the reason, like again, the reason why I showed that video was like, those people are real, and this is what they kind of believe, I guess. So in Ken Ham's case, that's what I was saying to you off camera. It can be debated whether he actually like really believes in it, or he just makes a quick buck from making those fairy tales.
Yeah, I think Ken Ham probably makes up a lot of the things that he says just to get people excited and get his face back on camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has his own agenda, like always.
Because we were just talking before about like how when he started to create his stupid little amusement park, how he decided he wasn't going to hire any atheists, which is clearly illegal. Hiring people based or not hiring people based on their religion or lack thereof, is completely illegal in the United States. And the United States said, if you do that, we're gonna take away your $18 million tax break. And I'm like, the guy doesn't have a job. How does he have $18 million?
Yeah. Well, he actually, I don't know if you heard about it, but the tickets to get into that museum are pretty expensive. I mean, like he charges like $20 to $30 for adults. I mean,
wow, that's expensive. I would love to do a shoot where we go down to there and walk through and just roll on the floor
we'll
laughing.
Get kicked out.
Yeah, roll on the floor laughing at like the things that they have there. I mean, I've been to Disney World. I've been to Disneyland. It doesn't mean I believe that Mickey Mouse exists.
Right. Well, actually, in the debate itself, it was very interesting because, like, Ken Ham showed like a couple of videos from like his friends, of course, his buddies, and one of them was this Danny Faulkner guy, PhD in astronomy. I like that.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, those are like his personal like friends. Like, guess what they will say,
Yeah.
Like, guess which side they will support.
Yeah. And as soon as someone starts talking about like they believe in magic and they believe in supernatural, even if you're a PhD, I gotta start doubting your thinking process because if you believe in magic and you believe in ghosts and UFOs and these kind of things, I gotta start thinking to myself, what else does this guy believe in? And even if you're a PhD, I mean, you can go to any university and take your tests and go to the classes and get a PhD. Fantastic, you should do that. It doesn't make you a better person. But what's missing here is the fact that the person, this gentleman that you were mentioning, who made this video for Ken Ham, his thinking process is wrong. He's accepting things that are magical and supernatural without any evidence.
Right.
I wish the world was magic. I wish I wish Harry Potter was real. I wish Star Wars was real. But I'm not going to go around believing that until you show me one piece of evidence.
Yeah.
Just one. Just show me one piece of evidence. Yeah.
Well, at the same time, that guy also said like back then, like people were actually like much bigger. Like people were giants, and so they were able to like wrestle with the T-Rex and stuff.
Sure.
So that's why the odds were kind of even because they were like same height. I don't even know where he gets that from.
I remember like Ken Ham had a big giant bone,
and
then like Bill Nye goes, "Hey, is that made out of bone?" And he goes, "No, it's styrofoam, but it represents a bone." Come on, man. It doesn't represent anything.
Yeah.
I saw, you can go to any kind of like magic shop and buy a giant, giant bow tie and a wig like a clown. It doesn't mean that you're magic. Come on. It's ridiculous.
Well, I'll make like a few points about the debate, and you can jump in and compliment or just do something else.
Sure.
My main thing was like, well, first of all, it was not a debate. I mean, that's the thing. It was held in Ken Ham's museum, and it was completely for just his own kind of glorification,
Well, to make money. Sell
get
DVDs.
More attention, because he likes his face on the screen, I guess, all the time. It was not a debate because, Ken Ham was always just pretty much reading from the Bible, from Genesis, and Bill Nye was obviously bringing in facts, like actual scientific evidence.
Demonstrable facts, like things you can prove.
Tested, tested evidence,
Right.
It's hard to talk about even Ken Ham because the entire Ken Ham thing was just about Genesis. Like he kept jumping back into it. Like I said, the guys that he mentioned in those like videos, it was just his buddies.
I like the fact that he always like answered Bill Nye by going, "Were you there?
Right.
Were you there? Were you there, mate? Were you there?" I would have went, "Yeah, I was there. Prove I wasn't."
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
I have proof. My buddy, my JC here, wrote a book about it. You know.
And the thing is, like, Bill Nye could have reversed that question.
Yeah.
He could have asked, "Well, were you there?" I mean, like,
and then they would have just gone back and forth. Were you
exactly.
there? No, were you there? Yeah,
Yeah.
I was there. Prove it. You know. Were you there?
so of course, like the thing, like, well, they talked about the Noah's Ark thing, and like, okay, so Ken Ham justified it by saying like, oh well wait, like, well, not every like animal was on the ark. It was just kinds. So the way I'm not like really kind of knowledgeable with that in that topic, but the way I understand it is that kinds. So they kind of split it. So feline, right? So cat. So we don't need like to have cat, tiger, lion. We just need like one of them
Yeah, it
because
doesn't
it's a
make
kind.
sense. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
First thing is like, you have predatory animals on the boat with animals that are just basically there for food.
Yeah.
So someone forgets to lock the tiger cage. What happens on this boat? The boat ride is destroyed because the tiger gets out and starts
Right.
eating all the humans, right? So he catches the humans that Noah's old, so it gets him first and bites his arm off, and then like his son, whose also name is Ham. Remember in the book, Noah's son's name was Ham.
Yes.
That story didn't end well, by the way.
Yeah.
If you know how that story ended, whoo, it did not end good for Ham or Noah.
Right,
But yeah,
right.
so anyways, I mean, how does that go? You have predatory animals on this stupid boat. You know, what are you feeding them? What are you doing with all their excrement? What are you
Yeah,
know,
exactly. Yeah,
where do people live? I mean, if you're floating out in the water, are they just like fishing, or what are they eating?
Yeah, exactly. And the thing is, like, again, so that guy in the video, he said like, oh yeah, but like God actually gave like the exact dimensions to the boat. Okay, but again, scientists can make a simulation based on the weight, based on the dimensions of it, and they found out that it doesn't work.
So
Period.
Yeah, but I mean, also think Noah was a drinker, and so Noah's drunk, and he starts hearing voices telling him to do things.
Build a boat, right? Yeah.
How do you know if you're hearing God or you're psychotic? How do you know the difference?
Yep.
Like, because you would say, oh well, God would never tell you to do something horrible. Well, he told Abraham to kill his son.
Yeah.
So
just as a test. Though,
No, it's a test.
still,
But
yeah,
how do
yeah.
you know? Well, how do you know he's not testing you right now?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's God came down and stopped him from stabbing his son to death.
Right,
How do you
exactly.
know that? It doesn't work out like for rational people.
Yeah, and of course, like, okay, so the other big thing in the debate was like Ham claimed that, well, we can't like observe the age of the Earth, and that students are confused by terms. That's what he always kind of jumped about, those terminology like thing. He said like evolution is a belief. I disagree with that. It's not.
It's proof.
Evolution is not something that you believe in. It's something you either understand or you don't. It's not a belief system.
There's no dogma. There's no dogma associated with it.
Right.
There's nothing to pray to.
Yeah.
There's nothing. And if you can prove it wrong, where's your evidence? If you have evidence that evolution's wrong, please show me.
Yeah.
We can make millions of dollars. We'll if you can prove magic is real, we'll go to the Amazing Randy and get their $1 million.
Yeah.
Please, let's do this.
Yeah.
Show me.
And again, like, okay, so the next point is basically like Ham was saying, like, well, obviously his belief stems from the Bible. Okay, we know that. That's nothing new.
And some weed.
And yeah, a lot of weed.
Yeah.
And only what we can observe and see today. So that goes back to the video we just watched, because this guy kept talking about, well, like we read those textbooks, like, and the information is still the same as like in 1990. Okay. Yeah, because like, okay, the formula that calculates gravity, for example, it doesn't change.
No.
So why? I don't even get that point.
Even further into that point that you're making is like the guy says the textbooks. Which textbook? What specific parts of which textbook are you talking about?
Yeah.
Give me an example of one. And plus, if you can prove something is wrong, all you have to do is write a paper, have
Yeah.
it peer reviewed,
Yeah.
and prove that evolution's wrong, and prove that your theory of gravity's wrong. Yeah, please do so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And okay, so obviously, like Ken Ham, like kind of stumbled a lot during the thing because he's full of crap, and so when you're full of crap, you stumble a lot. I guess when you have a debate with an actual guy who has like education,
Yeah.
he said like the phrase that he used. He said like, "Oh, like here are some scientists, and I'll just like blindly follow them."
Scientists, yes. What kind of scientists?
Yeah. And the thing is, like, we don't blindly follow science. We like it's stuff that is tested,
Yeah.
Again, with the example of gravity, okay, if you find that formula, you can take like an object because I guess weight is factored into it. If you like drop it, the rate will change. Like if you drop a feather, it will go much slower.
Well, yeah, that has to do with shape and density. And,
Right, right.
Yeah.
But you can like verify that. We don't like just blindly assume it.
Right.
We kind of, I don't know.
We have evidence that shows
Right.
that it's real. I mean, we can demonstrably prove that it actually exists.
Yeah, and of course, so okay, Ken Ham's big thing is Genesis in the Bible, particularly. He always referred to Adam and Eve, but yet he never explained how two people can populate the entire planet.
No, some monkey business happened with their kids. Yeah.
But he doesn't mention that. He never talked about that.
Yeah, that's what's kind of gross.
Yeah.
and Abel. What's the guy who killed his brother Cain and Abel?
Yeah.
Cain kills Abel, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's how it works. Then Cain is kicked out by JC.
Right.
Into the not you, Jesus
Yeah,
Christ. Yeah, but into where? The Garden of Eden is there.
Yeah.
So he kicks him out. Where does he go? And then that guy, who eventually led to the Canaanites.
Yeah.
Apparently, he met some other people, and they shared a common language.
Yes.
Or he learned their language, and he made a wife and some kids, and
Yeah.
blah 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 blah. And then yeah. So obviously there were other people around. That's provable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's kind of weird. Like when I was reading the Genesis last time, I think I was talking about I can't remember who I was talking about, but it suddenly just mentions like X knew his wife. From where? She just appears out of nowhere, like in the Bible. Who is she? Like how old is she? Like no information. He knew his wife.
Sure.
Okay, if you say so.
Where does she come from?
Yeah, well, nobody knows. Nobody
Yeah.
explains. The issue of race kind of came up in the debate, like the one race versus 5 races of humans. I don't know what to make of that. I mean, for me, it's one.
I think human beings are all the same.
Yeah.
I mean, people are born with different abilities and
Yes.
stuff. But I mean,
Like as humans.
as humans, we're all the same.
Yeah.
I don't see a difference in just skin tone doesn't make a difference
Yeah.
in what you are. You're still a human being. But yeah, what you're touching on there is probably isn't it, correct me if I'm wrong. It's the Tower of Babel, right?
I think so.
So
yeah.
God hates architecture,
Yeah.
and these guys started building their little tower to the top, and he's like, Chinese.
Right.
Those Chinese had them. So suddenly, hey, how did these guys get here? So the Tower of Babel becomes a raging racist,
Right,
horrible
right.
thing because they don't like each other because we can't understand those guys. And then God comes over and knocks it over.
Yeah,
It's weird.
For me, like, I don't know if you watched that episode of South Park, but it just makes as much sense to me about it because they said like they were trying to explain, how there's like Chinese and black people on Earth. So the Cartman, I think, was saying, that's easy. Like it's actually like back then in time, like some aliens like they went to like a planet with just Asian people and they took some Asian, and they went to a planet with just black people and took black people, and then they just put them all together on Earth and just to see what kind of experiment.
Mix them up. Yeah.
Yeah. It just makes as much sense. I mean,
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
if you believe in that, then why not believe in Cartman?
Or now we're delving into like close to Scientology, where
Yeah,
aliens
yeah,
are involved.
actually, yes.
Yeah, we'll get Tom Cruise to sort that out for us.
Okay, obviously, like Ham said, like, the Bible is like the only book that you should read in your life. It was created by a perfect being in brackets. Well, for him anyway.
Yeah.
But that he floods the entire planet and kills like millions of people. Oh, that's fine with
Yeah.
him. Of course, Ham believes God is all powerful. Well, naturally, that's the thing. Like, so he said, like, life cannot come from something that is not alive. Well,
I don't know. I'm not a scientist, I mean,
yeah,
it's okay to say I don't know. You don't have to know everything. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know the answer to that.
yeah. You don't need to like make something explanation if you don't actually have one. I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know. So
I don't make stuff up, so it's okay for me to say I don't know.
yeah, I mean, the one thing that I know is like some Apollo mission before, like they went on the moon and they were trying to fix some part, so they had to open it up and fix it up.
Apollo 13.
Maybe.
Was it where they broke the
But
scrubber and Tom
maybe.
and what was his name? Forrest Gump has to fix something.
No. That one didn't even land. It was like a moon landing.
Oh,
one, so
okay.
one of those.
It's
I
not.
don't
It's
know.
not the moon mission with Forrest Gump.
No. So anyway, like somebody like sneezed in there back on Earth, and they obviously saw the germs, but they were like frozen. So
Okay.
in theory, dead, not alive. In space, no air, no oxygen, right? Obviously the astronauts have, but not
Yeah.
the germs. They came back to Earth in that capsule, and the germs came back to life.
Well, yeah. It's kind of like what you're talking about. Transpermia is where like asteroids carry life forms
Right.
across the universe or whatever.
Right.
That's a theory that they have.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean that would kind of say, well, life then can come from something that is not alive. Why
Yeah.
not?
Why not? Yeah.
Obviously, Ham said the Bible is a unique book. Well, it's definitely unique, and we don't
horrible.
need any other books, basically, in his opinion.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, that's kind of the bulk of it. What about you?
I think the main point at the end of that debate was where Bill Nye said, "Is there anything that I can show you or tell you that will change your mind?" And Ken Ham just said no. So the point of the debate was what? I mean, if there's no chance or no possibility to change anyone's mind, what's the point of even talking about it? I find myself doing this all the time. People say, "Oh, you're an atheist," and what do you think about this? I don't even sometimes engage with people because arguing with people who are not rational is just a waste of time. It just makes you feel bad and crappy, and you get all excited, and you might even lose, a friend or whatever. There's no reason to get into it. So I mean, it just goes to show you that Ken Ham is completely irrational, and his thinking and reasoning is completely flawed.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I was just trying to find a picture because it was relevant as well. I don't know. For me, it was just this big show. Basically, it was a Ken Ham show.
Yeah.
And I regret it happened because, well, I mean, if some other like kind of jackass came to talk about it, fine. But Bill Nye kind of gave the entire thing like credibility.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. I wish like if they gave any kind of like compensation to Bill Nye for that time that he spent there and the time he spent preparing for it.
Right.
If I were him, I would donate that money to charity or to a university, or just not keep that for myself, but just do something to promote critical thinking and rational thought.
Yeah. Exactly.
Make some use of that money or those funds, and make something useful happen.
Yeah. But he just keeps it for himself. I mean, like most preachers do. I mean, those televangelists.
Oh, Ken Ham does. Yeah.
Yeah.
But did you see at the end of the end of the debate, people were holding up signs like, "I did not come from a monkey. If man came from monkeys, why do monkeys still exist?"
Oh yeah.
And all right, let me put it to you this way: God created Adam from dirt, so why does dirt still exist?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Right.
So just kind of as a side thing, like I was recently on this one website, and it's there's a lot of religious nuts on it. So this one guy was saying like, well, Jesus is real. So I'm like, okay, prove it. And I said, I don't mean like, don't use Bible quotes, because that's not evidence for me. What's your actual physical evidence that he exists? And I
Or
also
ever existed.
Right. I also mentioned that you do know that historians today say that he didn't even exist. His reply was basically, okay, so I really don't want to start an argument. Okay, that's fine. But you, so me, you are just listening to lies. Jesus is real, and they have evidence of him through architecture and stuff like that. Those historians that you're talking about don't even know what they're talking about. That's a smart argument.
Yeah.
I'm going to believe what I believe. The earth can't even form out of nowhere. Someone had to make it. Aha. Nothing can just explode out of nowhere. If people believe in evolution, they are crazy. They can't. There can't be things that form out of nowhere. How can we be alive right now? How do people invent stuff? Of course, God gave them the ability to do things. Things can't just come out of nowhere. It's pretty relevant to what we're talking about.
Right. If you believe that Jesus was actually a historical person, show me one credible thing that proves that.
Yeah.
And what
Well, he walked on water.
Oh, sure. So did David Blaine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, show me one piece of evidence. That's all it takes. Just show me one piece of evidence. And the people who argue this all the time talk about like Josephus. What was that guy's name?
Josephus?
Titus, Flavian Titus Josephus, or something like that.
Yeah.
He was supposed to be the historical guy who talked about Jesus in history.
Oh, right.
But in fact, I've read books that talk about that guy as being paid by Caesar back in the days of the Roman occupation to make Caesar look like he was actually a god and who just went on and did all these amazing things, right? So all that stuff there is basically just made up. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the one thing, and I think they talked about this, the kind of Big Bang thing. Okay, we don't know. Okay, like we don't know for sure.
Yeah.
But is it better to kind of think that like, well, first of all, it didn't come from nothing. That's the mistake that they make.
Yeah.
How do you know that? I mean, in fact, if you read Krauss's book, he argues a little bit a different point. There was something there. It was just kind of, and it might be a process that just kind of like a heartbeat, a very long one, obviously, but.
Well, we don't know. I mean, it's completely okay to say I don't know. I'm not a scientist, man. I didn't study this stuff, and I've read a few books, and but it's completely okay to say I don't know. What's unacceptable is just making up stuff.
Yeah.
You can't just make up stuff and say, "Oh, magic exists," because if in science, no proof is not proof of God, right? So if we say we don't know, that does not prove God. You still don't have evidence to prove your theory.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And well, that's what you said last time. Well, not last time, but a few minutes ago. You said like, well, religious people kind of always just select things, and I remember that very well because when I was in Canada, well, the only time I met a pastor actually was there. And he gave me a Bible, and he specifically told me which part I should be reading.
Right.
Of course, because, that's probably some kind of kumbaya, very nice kind of thing going on there.
Yeah.
And, it drags people this kind of comfort, I guess, but...
I don't know. I don't need lies to make me feel comfortable. I prefer cold, hard facts and evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think like for religious people, it's a lot of comfort. Like obviously the afterlife, and you were talking about that before the show. So obviously, like if you in your mind have this image that I'm going to a good place after I die.
Yeah.
It gives you comfort, but unfortunately, nobody ever came back. So
no one ever came back from that trip, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it just goes to show you like this is a way they use religion to control people. Is like, if you obey one master, and you do your work really good, when you die, then you get all this cool stuff.
Yeah.
You get a PS4, you get a nice car, you get a big house. You know, no one ever talks about how ridiculous the notion of an afterlife is.
Yeah.
Okay, let's say you go to heaven. What's heaven? And okay, let's talk about that for a second. You go to heaven. Are you allowed to ever leave? Okay, no. Okay, what's is it a democracy?
Yeah,
Do you get to
it's
vote?
not. It's dictatorship. I'm
Yeah.
pretty
Okay.
sure.
All right. So it's socialism. Are you talking about? Or it's communist. So everybody works for the common good, and then everybody gets taken care of. And now, if I work hard in heaven, then I get more, or I get the same as the guy who doesn't work at all.
Right. Right.
It's those things never brought up. You
Yeah.
know, and this is some of the things that I was asking when I was 13 years old,
Yeah.
and in trying to figure out, you know, what my beliefs were, and I was told by the preacher, don't come back, you know, to join us anymore. You're done. You know, so
Yeah.
you know what really happens in after you die is a mystery. Nobody knows.
Right.
Yeah,
Well, I think you just die.
I think you
that's
just
it.
blink out of existence.
Yep.
You become molecules. Your conscious thoughts, your personality. That stuff's all gone.
Yeah, because we like people go in a coma, right? So you just kind of black out. But for me, that's kind of the same thing, just permanent. You know, that's
Yeah,
it.
when like going to have surgery, you don't know you're having surgery. They give you
Right.
an injection of some anesthetic, and you
Yep.
wake up the next day sore.
Yeah.
You know,
You don't know what.
you don't know what happened.
Yeah.
And just you're gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. You have any last kind of points to make, or?
Well, I want to say that, you know, always, you know, doubt everything. Ask questions. Don't just read books and think you know something. I mean, ask questions. And remember, it's okay to be wrong, but the person who doesn't ask the question in this world is the most wrong. You know, if you just accept things the way they are, then that's terrible. You shouldn't do that. Ask questions and doubt everything.
Yep. Well, I mean, you're talking about like taking things on faith.
Yeah, I don't believe in faith. That's gullibility.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. All right. Cool. So that's it for today, I guess. So thank you for joining me.
Thank you very much.
So obviously the next show depends on my co-host's recovery, but it might be in 2 weeks. But if we need to, then we'll take a break. So in that case, it will be in a month. Well, I hope to see you again sometime.
Absolutely. I'm more than happy to come by and help out anytime.
Yep.
And if you're out there and you're watching the show, please look up the Japan Atheist Society. You don't have to live in Japan to join. You can just join and talk about it. You don't have to be an atheist to join. You can be a Christian and join if you want, or a Muslim, anything. We're open for debate. We like having the discussion.
Yep. Yeah, I know. Talking about Facebook pages, well, I promote mine, obviously, and people know about it.
Right.
But the interesting thing was, like, I think, so my first 4,000 likes, I realized that like 99% of those people joining were from the Philippines. And I was like, Philippines? That's a very religious country. What's going on here?
Right.
And then I realized through some comments over time that, well, they don't watch the show, actually. They don't know what it's about. So I'm like, okay, why did you even join the page then?
It's interesting.
Yeah. But there are some who, I mean, even the Philippines is a country that is changing slowly, but...
The internet changed everything, man.
Yeah.
That wasn't in the Bible.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but that brought everyone together. It changed everything. It's changed countries.
Yeah.
It's changed the face of the earth, man. Yeah.
Well, that's the point I made in the last show. Like, like God sees kind of the development of the world, like penicillin and stuff. Why doesn't He say, for example, that hey, penicillin is bad for you? Like
True. Yeah.
He doesn't know about it.
He doesn't know about it. Yeah. It doesn't exist.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah.
All right. Thank you
cool.
very much, man.
All right. Thank you all for watching.
Good night.